and welcome. In this lesson, we are going to create a new web page. So let's go ahead to Sublime and create a new file. For this one, we're going to use the HTML tag. Remember, every time you open the tag, you need to close the tag. We also have the head tag. And finally, we have the body tag. And yes, you can add the title tag. Okay. Good. So I'm gonna click save and name this index.html. Okay. So I have some tests here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste. And add it inside a p tag. All right. Just gonna go and click save. And finally, I will just add a head one and the h1 and say some test and just h1. I don't need this. Just gonna go ahead and delete it and just double click on the page, and this is my test. So what about if you have this type of paragraph and you would like to add some quotes between I don't know, let me see it, but let me see a more simple ones. All right, something like this. So just lexicon and syntax. So if we want to add some quote there, and you will be writing this on a piece of paper, that would be easy because we just have to go ahead and from here we add this double quote and this double quote. I'm just gonna go ahead and click save, and voila, there you go. So you have it here and we have it here. All right. But since we are using HTML for this course, we can do it in a more fancy and meaningful way, okay? And that is using the Q element. This is how you do it. You just type the word Q, and then you delete the other one and click save. Just refresh, same thing. Okay, nothing changed. You just go back to this. So we use the Q elements to quote a sentence or a word. So we just saw that right now. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can just use double quote from the keyboard, right? From the keyboard. But when you use the HTML tag, basically you're doing it in like a more meaningful way. Like your code will make more sense when you have the Q element, okay? And of course, the Q element help the browser knows that some text inside the P tag element is a real quote. Remember that I mentioned that basically the web page, which is the .html page, talks to the browser because the browser like read basically everything the page have, and and then it's like displaying everything according to the tag that the web page contains. Okay, and finally, something to keep in mind for this course is that the Q element is an inline element, and we're gonna get there. Block quotes. So block quote basically used for longer quotes, and something to keep in mind is that is a block element. So let's do the block quote now. Just gonna go ahead and let me see where exactly I can just add it right here, the last paragraph. Okay. Think I forgot the CK. There you go. And I'm going to end this quote here. Okay. So I just add the quote element. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. There you go. So just the quote, the block quote element in my test. I'm just going to save the file. And let me go back to my web page. And there you go. So as you can see here, it created a little bit of space. You don't see the double quote, but that's okay, because when you read it, you know this is basically this is a block quote here, which is separate from the line that the whole paragraph is going through. Okay, super easy. When you should be using it? All the time, honestly. As I mentioned before, imagine that you have a whole bunch of code. Okay, imagine you have this quote here, and let's say that we just have this here. Okay, let me just delete this. I'm just deleting the Q tag and just adding this. And then imagine that you want to create basically this part right here, which is you need something else that we're going to talk about it later that will create that space there. We're going to be talking about in this course later about that. Okay, but let's say that you just want to add another double quote there. Let me go back. There you go. Okay, and you know, of course, if you're reading this, you can definitely identify that you have a quote there and you have a quote there. Okay, that's totally fine. But what about if I just go ahead and copy and paste this many times like this? You see? So you have a whole bunch different tests there, and you need to identify that single quote. Yes, we do have it here, but because it's the same test, like basically copy and paste, right? But you see this, it will be difficult to find this single double quote here. This double quote, it will be very difficult to find it. So this is why it would be much better if you can use the Q tag for this, like this. Well, this is the block quote that I use for, but it's the same. You get my point. Yes. So, well, definitely reading like this, you will see it that there is some quotes somewhere if you use the appropriate tag. Okay. And again, guys, every time we create a website, we need to think big. We need to assume like we're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff. So we need to create stuff that later on we make easy for us to what we call debugging, or if we would have to fix something, it would be definitely easy to do it if you're doing it writing the appropriate elements or tag. Right? Let's just go back. Let me save this file so we can see how it look like. Something like this. Okay. So let me just go back. Block elements versus inline elements. Remember that I mentioned that between those two things here, this is an inline element and this is the block quote element, which is a block element, and this one is the Q element is an inline element. Okay, we're gonna get to that now. Okay, so the block element are always displayed as if they have a line break. Do you guys remember the line break from last lesson? Basically, remember this here. This is the line break. Okay, before and after. For example, when we create, if we create like a blog or something, if you write like a blog, and then on your blog you want to add some block quotes or some paragraph that definitely belongs to someone else, you will be using the block quote element. And when you're reading your blog post, it will definitely look like this. Okay. And again, it will create this space right here, all this space, line break before and after. And when you're using an inline element, appear in the same line within the flow of the text in your page. And that's why we see when we add, let me go back, I believe here, when we add, nope, let me just go to my code. See, this is what I'm telling you guys. Easy. So as you guys can see, we have here the Q element, and it's not breaking anywhere. So this is why it is on the same line. Whatever it is right now, it's basically on the same line, and it's not breaking anywhere. So let's see what is it. Let me just create a block quote. And I'm just going to copy this and put it right here. There you go. And now this is have been created. See the line break before and after, instead of me using BR tag and BR tag. So there you go. Okay. Another thing is just to keep in mind, it will be pumping up this thing like to purchase, like to buy it. You don't have to buy it. So you just click on cancel. Okay. And again, what is an inline, what is a line break? Again, it just adds some space between a test. Like before, you just add like a big line before and after, or if you're using the BR tag, after the test. And library doesn't have any content. Yes, I know. So this is the funny part here. I told you guys that every time you open a tag, you have to close the tag, right? And I will be mentioning that for every time I have to write HTML code. Let's just go here. As you guys can see, I just have this, and that's it. You don't need to close it. You don't even need to write this, by the way. You don't have to do something like this. You see that? And then like pretend to write something here. You don't have to do. It's just because, as I mentioned here, it is that you have no content. Because you have no content, you don't need to write it. You don't need to close the tag. It's enough with open tag. Later in this course, we will learn about when to use the BR like this or using like this. It's not like a preference, it's just according to the HTML version that we're using, okay? But we're gonna learn about the XHTML and HTML later in this course. Okay, and I will see you in the next lesson to learn about the list. Thank you.